When I wake up, I know that you are with me every step of the way. You're strong enough to handle any fear that I face. Even things that scare me, 'cause they seem too big. Even all the hard things that make me wanna quit. You're bigger than it all, and you're in charge of it. And I don't feel so worried when I look to you, Jesus. Your love is unforgettable. Your strength is undeniable. With you, nothing is impossible. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. When I look at how great you are, your kindness helps me believe that you are good, and with you I can do anything. Even things that scare me, 'cause they seem too big. Even all the hard things that make me wanna quit. You're bigger than it all, and you're in charge of it. And I don't feel so worried when I look to you, Jesus. Your love is unforgettable. Your strength is undeniable. With you, nothing is impossible. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. Your love is unforgettable. Your strength is undeniable. With you, nothing is impossible. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave. You are the reason, you are the reason I'm brave.
Hey friends, it is so great to see you today. We've got so much fun in store as we find out what it means to live with courage. What is courage? Well, courage is being brave enough to do what you should do even when you are afraid.
When you're courageous, you can face your fears. You can stand strong when others are afraid. You can even make wise choices, even when it's hard, because you know that God is always with you. And we thought today we'd play a game. So how does a scavenger hunt sound, Malia?
Sounds awesome, Nath. For our scavenger hunt, we've got a couple of items on this list, and we want you to grab all of them. Firstly, we're going to name some of the items, and then we will get you to press pause on us so that you have enough time to collect them because they're a little specific. Okay, so the items that we want you to find are 1 circle plate, 2 circle buttons, a long sock, a banana if you have one, but if you haven't got one, something that you could use for a smile, little clue there, 4 toothpicks, and finally something fluffy that you could use for, well, fluff. Are you ready, guys? We're going to get a list on the screen so that if you forget something, you can come back and have a look, and then once you see the list, pause us and go and get your things. Once you have everything, unpause us. Are you ready, guys? Go!
Wow, did you guys get everything? Wow. Well, what we want you to do with these things that you have in front of you is to make a lion.
Whoa!
We want you to use each object as part of the lion. And we'll give you a few pointers, like using the big plate as the face and the buttons as the lion's eyes. But everything else can be used for whatever you want. And if you didn't have some of these items, feel free to go and grab something else that might work.
And in our Bible story today, we are going to be learning all about Daniel and a lion. So make sure that you send us a photo of what your lion looks like out of your random objects. So why don't you go again and pause us here now and create your masterpiece. And once you're done, come back to hear a little bit more about this lion.
Daniel was taken to Babylon as a young man, but even as a captive, he still stood up for the one true God.
We won't make ourselves unclean by eating the king's food. Test us for 10 days. Give us only vegetables to eat.
God blessed Daniel and made him strong and wise. That wisdom and courage gained Daniel a lot of respect, and he actually served as an advisor to several foreign kings over his lifetime. One of them was King Darius, who conquered Babylon. Now, when King Darius took charge, he placed 120 officials over the whole kingdom and put 3 governors over them. One of these 3 men was Daniel. Daniel was so trustworthy and did such a good job that Darius actually made plans to put Daniel in charge of the other 2 governors. So when these other 2 rulers found out about the plan, they were pretty angry. They decided to find something wrong with Daniel they could tell the king about. But even though they spied on Daniel, they couldn't find a thing he'd done wrong.
Not one single lie!
But Daniel does have this thing about praying to his God.
3 times a day like clockwork.
The jealous governors and officials perfected a sneaky plan and took it to King Darius.
King Darius, may you live forever.
You're so incredibly amazing. We think you should make a special command. What is it?
For the next 30 days, no one in the whole kingdom can pray to anyone but you.
I like it. And if they pray to someone else, they get thrown into a lion's den.
Where do I sign?
Oh, well, King Darius was so flattered that he gave orders for the law to be written down, and he signed it at once. And you have to know this. Once a law of the Medes and Persians was written down, it could not be changed, even by the king himself. When Daniel found out about the law, it would have been easy enough to change his routine and stop going home to pray every day. But Daniel's love for God was greater than his fear of lions. The next morning, as every morning, Daniel knelt in his room and prayed to God.
Thank you that you are always with me, God. Help me honor you in everything I do.
Daniel went to his room to pray again at noon and in the evening, even though he probably knew the other officials were watching him. And sure enough, they were delighted to find Daniel disobeying the king's law. Oh, they rushed after the king as fast as they could.
King Darius, didn't you sign an order that for 30 days no one can pray to anyone but you?
Huh? I did. Or they'd be thrown into a lion's den. Well, no one would risk it.
Except Daniel.
He still prays to his God 3 times every day.
When Darius realized he'd been trapped, he was very upset. He didn't want Daniel to be harmed, but even he couldn't find a way around the law. So at sunset, the king called for Daniel to be brought out and thrown in the lion's den.
Daniel, you always serve your God faithfully, so may he save you.
Then Daniel was shoved into the dark den, and a stone was placed over the entrance. Now, we don't know exactly what Daniel felt alone in that deep, dark place with prowling lions. But in the palace, the king was so sick with fear he couldn't sleep. As soon as the sun rose, he hurried back to the lion's den.
Daniel, you serve the living God. Has he been able to save you from the lion?
Morning sunlight revealed Daniel, with the powerful lions curled up around him, tame as house cats.
My God sent his angel to shut the mouths of the lions. They haven't hurt me at all.
Oh, lift him out of the den at once.
Daniel was completely unharmed. The king was so amazed that he wrote a letter to everyone in the kingdom.
I order people in every part of my kingdom to respect and honor Daniel's God. He is the living God. He has saved Daniel from the power of the lions.
Daniel continued to serve the king, and because of Daniel's courage, every person in the land heard about the one true God. The end.
Wow, that story is pretty incredible. I mean, Daniel was doing everything right, and still, people were out to get him. They tried to force him to stop praying to God, but Daniel wouldn't give in. God gave him the courage to do what was right. Even when Daniel had to spend the night in the lion's den, he trusted that God would be with him, and sure enough, God kept him safe.
You know, I'm sure Daniel was scared of the lions. Who wouldn't be? Would you be, Malia?
Yeah.
Of course. But Daniel trusted that God was with him always. Now, here's what we can remember from Daniel's story. You can do what you should because God is with you.
And remember, when you choose to trust in Jesus and to follow him, you have God's Holy Spirit living inside of you. God's Holy Spirit can help you have courage even when you face tough times.
No matter what happens, remember that God is with you. You can trust God no matter what. And our family question today is this: what is the bravest thing you have ever done? Chances are that you've already done some really, really courageous things in your lives. Remembering how God was with you then can help you find the strength to have courage with what you'll face in the future.
If you're not quite sure how you'd answer that question, have no fear. Why don't you grab mum or dad or someone older and ask them what the bravest thing that they've ever done is. Then you could spend some time together praying that you would all have the courage to face the future, no matter what it might hold. And once you're done, we would love you to head on over to our Kidspace page on Facebook for another episode of the So and So Show. And don't forget to take a photo of those lions. All right, bye guys!
When I wake up, I know that you are with me every step of the way. You're strong.